The chair recognizes the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Costello, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to speak to all the student athletes, the parents of student athletes, athletic trainers, and coaches out there. Sports builds character. I want to make sure we're using technology, science, data analytics, and best practices to keep our student athletes practicing, performing, and competing in a safe and responsible manner. I recall, as a former high school and college athlete, the pregame and pre-practice routines that my coaches used to require before we could start to play. And while sports provides great enjoyment for athletes, fans, and coaches, they also pose health risks. Some of them are unavoidable, but some are preventable. By utilizing data and technology, we can establish best practices so our athletes can remain healthy and compete, and our sports teams can succeed. And we can do that and still make certain injuries more preventable in the process. In 2015, we have watches that provide real-time data on our heart rate, caloric intake, blood pressure to smartphones that can then be shared with coaches, parents, and physicians. And that's just an Apple Watch or a Fitbit. Data analytics in sports go hand in hand these days, from mathematical algorithms as to what quarterback will be most successful on a Sunday afternoon to the data of building a winning baseball team. Today's athletic success is fueled by skills, knowledge, and teamwork, both on and off the field. Just as we find ways to incorporate technology and data to ensure our next generation of athletes can remain healthy and playing well into old age, we must also encourage investments in the research, innovation, and technology to continue to build upon these already great achievements. One aspect of this can be found in using data analytics to better understand athletic injuries in our children and student athletes. For example, preemptively identifying vulnerabilities and assessing the lasting impact of other injuries so we can design equipment and enforce rules to most effectively avoid the likelihood of such injuries, but do so without compromising the integrity of the competitive sports we all enjoy watching or participating in. Health professionals, coaches, trainers, and parents can utilize this data to bring about greater awareness of sound practices that can keep our student athletes healthy and in the game, not on the sidelines. Every preseason, we read in our local newspaper about a student athlete who suffered a concussion during football or soccer practice. In 2013 alone, over 1.2 million children visited emergency rooms for sports-related injuries, and nearly 8% of these emergency room visits were concussion-related. Earlier this year, I had the opportunity to introduce House Resolution 112, a resolution, the Secondary School Student Athletes Bill of Rights, which encourages greater communication, coordination, and teamwork among coaches, parents, teachers, and medical professionals to ensure that our children receive adequate training, safe equipment and facilities, and immediate on-site injury assessment. The very data and tools we use to generate information like RBIs or yards per carry can be used to study incidents of injury, the impact of certain dietary habits on developing athletes, better training practices, and a host of ways to improve the safe and responsible athletic experience for our youngest athletes. With the support of over 100 diverse organizations dedicated to improving the health of our student athletes, including the National Athletic Trainers Association, the American Football Coaches Association, the American Heart Association, the National Association of State Boards of Education, and the American Academy of Pediatrics, House Resolution 112 is just one step towards encouraging and emphasizing the use, sharing, and incorporation of data and innovation in improving the safety of athletes and avoiding injury. While that effort deals with on-the-field success of our student athletes, just as important is making sure we're giving our next generation the tools they need in innovation and analytics. In Congress, we should enable continued research by making a commitment to providing the next generation of innovators with the tools to learn, develop, and ultimately succeed. Indeed, STEM skills, the foundation of innovation, lies in dynamic, motivated, and a well-educated workforce equipped with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. As a member of the Congressional STEM Caucus, I will continue to be an advocate for continued funding of STEM curriculum in schools so that we can equip the next generation of scientists and mathematicians with the tools to succeed. STEM classroom lessons can be applied to sports and the data collection process. Our STEM students will play a major role in leading the way for greater success on the field. The bottom line, we must all work together to continue to keep our favorite athletes and our children and our teams on the field and in the game, and prevent injuries and encourage lifelong habits that will allow our children to lead healthier lives. By encouraging the use of technology, we can ensure our student athletes, our athletic trainers, our parents, and our coaches have the tools needed to keep our athletes healthy and on the field instead of on the sidelines. Mr. Speaker, I yield